This segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your partner is good health.
Everybody, welcome into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. The legislative session has wrapped up about a week ago, and thought we'd check in with the District 54 representative, Mr. Joe Orgeron. Thanks so much for being with us, Joe.
Thank you, Harry.
We were laughing before we started. You guys are there probably 50% of the time now.
Yeah,
That's not what it was designed for.
No, not at all.
Gig, huh?
It's a part-time gig, but of course, last year we had a lot of special sessions,
Right.
and coming out of this regular session, there was talk of a special session, but I don't think anybody has the appetite for that right now.
So yeah, it's supposed to be 20%. But so let's get into it. Look, you got a lot of issues, that we want to talk about. And we got 3 segments to do it. Of course, bridges, infrastructure, and all that stuff. But when you come out of this session, I guess the headliner was insurance, those kind of things. So
Correct. Well, the overarching feel of the whole regular session this year was you're going in with your own 5 bills for your district, but overall we want to take care of insurance. We want to figure out a way to bring more insurance companies into Louisiana. Of course, following Hurricane Ida, there was some of them that went bankrupt, some that pulled out, and our understanding was that for everyone that pulled out, there were probably 2 that wanted to come in, and just the environment of Louisiana being overly litigious, with trial lawyers, that there needed a lot of reform to be able to make the playing field a little more amicable for those new insurance companies to come in. Their actuaries were telling them, look, all the weak houses and the weak links in the chain have been removed. You probably have 6 to 8 good years of premium. They're going to call it premium harvesting or whatever you want to call it. So get in there, but the overly lawsuit happy lands of Louisiana kind of held them at bay. So this year there were 6 bills passed to address that. 5 of them were very, very good, that really fixed a lot of the issues that corrected that background for Louisiana. One of them, not so much, that the governor wanted passed. That basically kind of put the onus on the insurance commissioner to be able to declare whether or not insurance rates are fair or not. And I remember him coming into some of the meetings saying he didn't want that authority. Right. His conversation, he had the closest relationship with those insurance companies that wanted to come into Louisiana, and they were saying, we would rather you not have that. We were more likely to come in if you did not have that authority. But that was something that the governor mandated.
Well, I saw a famous soundbite from the governor who said, if you don't want it, I'll take it.
Right.
And he was like, I'll do it. I'll talk to him. But he ended up taking it for sure. So that's interesting. But, when you talk about insurance, we do talk about, hey, the trial lawyers and the billboards and car. But for us, particularly down here, it's homeowners, it's flood is the real issue down here. We all pay car insurance. But down here, you can't stay if you got to pay $10,000 a year in flood insurance.
I gave a talk to some of the realtors, and they showed me in my hometown in Lower Lafourche, probably 115 listings for houses for sale. And they told me like 6-8 months had gone by, not one of these houses had sold. And then they corrected. Well, one house did sell, and it's a $1,300 note with $1,500 a month of insurance, correct, for the mandatory insurance to get the loan. So whenever things are upside down like that, changes need to occur. We need to.
Yeah, and I know that's FEMA. That's not something the state deals. But I know we're waiting on that 2.0 or whatever.
Right. Risk rating 2.0 is still being looked at, and we're trying to get into the calculation of how that's being figured out.
We built our levies for. The other insurance besides that is DOTD, and that kind of brings us into bridges and infrastructure.
Correct. Here in South Louisiana, both myself and Representative Domain probably are the 2 representatives who have a district with, or I could say Senate District, Big Mike's District 20, basically covers those 2 House districts. And we have the most movable bridges in Louisiana, with all the bayous, pontoon bridges, lift bridges, etc. And the maintenance on them is atrocious historically. So we get these problems where we have long repair times to get them fixed and degradation. And I know that the Golden Meadow Bridge basically got, for safety reasons, tagged out for a mere 942 days. Not that anyone was counting, but that was primarily due to, initially to the beams of the understructure rotting. And recently, the day that the Golden Meadow Bridge began operations, we were in session, and Representative Domain showed me pictures of her Boudreaux Canal Bridge, and I was like, oh my God, now it's to you. So anyway, DOTD getting revamped is big. I give it to Representative Fontenot and from North Lafourche, and Representative Bourriac, Chairman Bourriac of the Transportation, and State Senate Pat Connick for working to revamp DOTD.
Yeah, that's one of the first things Landry did, right?
That's right. Or he wanted to, and he put out that consulting group, Boston Consulting, to figure out how to best fix them. And
how do you feel going forward? Do you think
I think they're doing a good thing. Fewer engineers, more actual activities by DOTD, and a dedicated resurfacing and paving department that'll just focus on resiliency, resurfacing of the roads.
That would be good. And pressing sin on some of your notes that you made, like we had the Boudreaux Canal. We'll talk about that. But we do have the Berg Bridge, and we got Golden Meadow open, so we'll talk about that.
That's right.
When we come back on this edition of Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your partner is good health.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Joe Orgeron is District 54's representative, Florida State. And let's talk specifically about some of the bridge projects that I know just opened, and then we'll get to some of your bills that you worked on. You said you can do 5 bills? Is that
5 bills that are of a non-fiscal nature during a fiscal session?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's go, because we talked. The Golden Meadow Bridge finally opened.
Finally.
900-something days.
Right.
The Berg Bridge opened, but it's got a stoplight now. It's got stop signs instead of stoplight. So maybe they could have timed that a little better, because that one's been almost 900 days too. Right. But let's talk about some of the other projects. And I know you're working on the pontoon bridges in your area.
Well, the pontoon bridge in Bayou Blue is in my district, and I am working with DOTD right now. I believe they have a contractor to fix it. Mm-hmm. So that's going to get worked on. I believe, I remember hearing the end of August as being a date to be looking at that.
Okay.
But in Lower Lafourche, we got 2 big projects. That's, of course, the continued LA1 elevated highway from Golden Meadow to the Leeville Go Pass. And that has passed the 50% mark. It's kind of like 54, 55% complete. That's still on target for July of 2027 for completion. Mm-hmm. The other one is what I call the airport connector road. So that would be on the 4-lane highway in Galliano that would connect 3235 to LA1, and a new bridge that would connect us to 308 right at the Galliano airport. And unfortunately, the connector road is fully complete, but not open because the bridge is not ready yet. And that has to do with some of the machinery parts, the big wheels at the top of the bridge span that the cables go over. They're having delays in getting those made. So, and I'm actually, it's a machine shop in Bogalusa, and I'm reaching out to the representative in Bogalusa. Can I go visit, and we go to that shop and maybe see what some of the delays are?
Back in my truck.
No, I don't think so. Just to try to move things a little bit along.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Let them know. So those are the bridge issues.
I'm glad to hear that they're doing it at least locally when it comes to Bogalusa. I know a lot of people around here is going, we got machine shops, we can make those parts.
Yeah, well, it's a state bid contract. T-Level had it. They formed that part out to someone else. But I did, Golden Meadow, the town of Golden Meadow had approached me last year wanting to kind of be a little more legal with their golf carts that ride along the highway. And that's not the 32, 35 high-speed
Right.
back
This is
road.
more
This is
LA1.
along LA1 that's
LA3.
hardly ever traveled now. And they're utilizing golf carts on the shoulder, which is not legal by default in Louisiana. Well, now it is. I got a bill passed to give an exception for Golden Meadow. And just like Grand Isle, they can put a little tag on the cart or sale tags to make themselves legal. So that was one of the bills I ran.
Oh, that's good. And so you can do that because that's becoming a popular activity, right?
Yeah.
Way for people to get around. And like I said, and we don't have Dufran's Bakery that we used to stop at on the way to Grand Isle.
One of the other bills that actually came from a town meeting in Golden Meadow was coming originally from me hearing all these South Central planning, facilitating all these condemnation hearings. So post Ida, a lot of houses got destroyed and the families basically just left them, or they were for an elderly family member, and now they're condemned and they're being torn down. And whenever you probe into how to get those back, even scraped in the lot back into the property tax rolls, there's always a secession that needs to be done. And depending on how far back, these low value secessions. Louisiana had actually a couple of years ago passed a law that allowed notaries, regular notaries, to do low value secessions, low estate value secessions, those under $125,000. The problem is that they never realized that they also needed to allow those notaries to get death certificates from the old records at bureaus of statistics. And one of the notaries in Golden Meadow said, I could do a lot more if the state recognized that me working on this particular type of secession, they would give me these death certificates. So I looked into it, and sure enough, the people at the Capitol said, oops, how bad, we forgot. We allowed the notaries to do this, and we didn't give them the authority or make it explicit with the authority to be able to get the death certificate. So I fixed that this year.
Oh, great.
And out of that, people from North Louisiana that have these low value secessions were, jumped on and helped and wanted to co-author. And I actually had Senator Joe Bowie, who represents the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, where Katrina devastated a lot of low value houses. And he was like, he read it and he was like, I am more than happy to run this for you on the Senate side.
Sure.
So that worked out well.
That's a big deal. Derelict properties and that kind of stuff, where they can't find who's in charge.
Yep. I did another one that puts a Lafourche Parish specific board seat for the Atchafalaya Heritage Area Commission. The Lafourche got added along with Terrebonne 2 years ago, and Archie Chasson, my parish president, said it's nice that Lafourche was added, but we don't have a seat on the board. Another oversight, right. So another cleanup bill to get that added. So anyway, that worked on a lot of other things, helping the oil and gas industry and clean energy, but those were some of the ones that I took care of explicitly administratively for my district.
No, good. We'll talk a little more about, of course, energy and what's going on. We have one session to go with Joe Orgeron. We'll be right here, right back on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Joe Orgeron, District 54 State Rep here. We're going over the legislative process. Coastal restoration is always a big one. The monies that you guys brought on this time?
Yep. There was some supplemental money that we will be able to get into CPRE. Some of it will be for our Bayou Lafourche pump station
up in
Donaldsonville, which in order for that to really have the effectiveness needs some dredging somewhere between Thibodaux and Donaldsonville, and there was money in the budget for that. Nice. So it's real good. And of course, federally, we're working with efforts from Majority Leader Steve Scalise on the big beautiful bill to raise the cap on GOMESA. That's the money that we get from federal outer continental shelf oil and gas severance revenue. That within Louisiana, all that, any funds we get from the federal government from offshore oil and gas has to be committed to the coastal communities that help produce that. And so that's going to go to coastal restoration.
Oh, that's great. And look, I mean, because not all, like Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, we don't all pay the same price, or we don't get the same percentage, right?
Correct. Louisiana, fortunately, gets over 40% of it. It all has to do with a formula from how close to, what's the nearest piece of land to wherever the oil's produced. And that's why kind of Plaquemines gets a little more than I think Lafourche and Terrebonne should get, even though we support the industry.
Right.
Fouchon for sure supports it one of the most.
Right.
But because Plaquemines has that long crow's foot of the Mississippi that reaches out to the deep water facilities, they get a bigger proportion. But Louisiana does well, and the main thing is to increase the cap so that every year we're able to get a little bit more. And that's important going forward, because in 2031, the last of the Deepwater Horizon penalty payments will be paid to Louisiana. After that, that money comes to a dead stop. In 2032, there is none. So in order to maintain our master plan at CPRA, we need as much money as we can get through.
You're right. We don't want to fall off that cliff.
Correct.
Right?
And we really don't want to burden the state and the taxpayers of the state. We would rather see more hydrocarbon production, more offshore oil and gas production, and that be for both our domestic consumption as well as the LNG liquefaction and shipping that off to other countries to burn in a cleaner fashion than whatever they're using.
Now that's up and running again, right? The LNG,
yes.
And we've been able to export that, right?
Correct. And there's plants already working in Lake Charles and Calcasieu. There's a new plant on the river in Plaquemines coming online. That plant in Plaquemines is being fed by that huge compressor station that you see right as you leave Golden Meadow, and you go through the floodgates on the way to Leeville. That high facility with all the piping is the feeder and compressor station for the LNG in Plaquemines. And in addition to that, there still is a project called Argent LNG that's planning on looking at making an LNG plant in Port Fouchon.
Fouchon, right. We had talked about that at one time, but that's on the drawing board down the road? Or?
Correct. Moving along. But there's actually permitting going on. Like the Port Commission is actually making sure that all the acquisition of the property is solid, and that Argent can move forward.
Right.
And it will.
You know, LNG, I mean, just seems like the future, right? And I know everybody's talking about fossils and all, but, you know, to shut it off for us, our ability to help Europe with the Russian thing, was kind of silly. But
that was some missteps during the last administration, but I think now we're back on track.
So big, beautiful bill. Will we see anything else come out of that? We were just saying, I think it was 50-50. Vance just passed it. It'll go back to the House. That's where we're at currently. So
correct.
What else are we looking for out of that?
You know, a couple of other things in my interest. I chair the Clean Hydrogen Task Force, which, you know, despite the name and thinking that it's, you know, renewable energy, it's actually producing for the most part, for us, it's producing more hydrocarbons and getting that to the refineries for them to rearrange the molecules and be able to make more plastic products in a cleaner fashion without releasing as much carbon dioxide and doing some carbon sequestration. And some of those had some tax credits that are going to stay in place for a little longer than the end of the year.
Well, that was also one of the big things, is we were going to be one of the leaders in carbon sequestration.
Correct.
Like Maurepas, I know, was a big battleground there. Where are we at with that?
I think with 45Q, as it's called, and 45V staying in the bill, I think it'll be able to move forward. I think the projects that are currently in the queue will continue to move forward.
What do we don't understand about that? Why are people so scared about that, or why should we feel so safe about it on both sides?
I don't think we have the time to dive completely into it, but I look at it as it's a global market for oil and gas, and let's just see, if the rest of the world wants a low lower carbon footprint of hydrocarbon, then Louisiana is the perfect place to be able to take as much from under the ground and change it in the format that they want, and take the rest of the product and put it back in the ground where it came from.
Right.
So it's molecular rearranging is what they really do.
I got you. And like I say, it seems like a good thing, but we're at the infancy stage of that, right?
Correct. We are.
Well, Joe Orgeron, appreciate it, man. Very interesting, and hope you enjoy some time off from back to Baton Rouge.
Happy to talk about clean energy with any of my constituents. Happy to educate them and take them down there.
Going to Grand Isle, right?
I am going to Grand Isle.
All right. Well, maybe I'll see you down.
Golden Matter, Fouchon, Tarpon Rodeo this weekend.
Okay. We'll be right back. Well, that is our time with Joe Orgeron. We'll be right back. More Bayou Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Barker Honda. It's better at Barker.